Yes, welcome back to the second episode of What the Fuck. And today we are going to see what the fuck is server-side rendering. And SSR is basically one of the most important concepts of modern web development, and it has been asked over plenty of time in different interviews. So before we exactly look into what is server-side rendering, the first thing that we need to understand is what exactly is rendering. Okay, so rendering simply means taking React components and turning them into real HTML so that the browser can display. Okay, so whatever code, whatever content you have, we just take it and put it into real HTML. We convert it into real HTML so that the browser can display. Okay, now every app must render its UI. The only question is where this rendering happens. So there are two parts. The first is rendering on the client, means you are going to render your entire thing on the browser. And the second is rendering on the server. And this is the exact difference between React and Next. So React by default uses CSR, that stands for client-side rendering. So React alone, like if you're trying to use create React app, v plus React or anything like that, it simply uses CSR. This means browser loads an basic or empty HTML with just a div with ID root and close, right? Then the browser downloads a big JavaScript bundle because all of your code is basically, and over the time it gets converted into single HTML, CSS, JavaScript file. So browser downloads a big JavaScript bundle. React runs that entire bundle on the browser itself, inside the browser itself. Now React builds the UI on the user's device. Means if you are running the app or if you are running the web app on your browser, on your phone, PC, wherever. So the entire UI will be built on your device, correct? And the question is, why does React do this, right? So because React was initially made for building interactive UI, okay, and it was not supposed to be that SEO friendly or server side rendering or anything like that. Okay, now what is the problem with CSR? It's doing its work, right? Everything is fine. We are getting the output. We can see the UI component. Everything looks good. The problem is slow initial load. So blank screen until the JavaScript loads. So it takes maybe a second, maybe two. If you have heavy component on the first page, maybe it will take 3 to 4 seconds of blank screen, and then the entire JavaScript content is get loaded. Right? Bad for SEO. So search engine sees empty HTML. So that's the worst part for search engine optimization. Now, slower on low-end devices. If your device or internet connection is slow due to CSR, it takes some time to load and break down that entire JavaScript bundle, right? Now, what is server-side rendering? So the main part is server-side rendering basically means the UI is generated on the server and not on the user device or not on the browser, right? So the process is very simple. User visits the page and then server runs the React code, the entire React code. React generate ready-made HTML, and then server sends complete HTML to the browser. Browser initially sees no UI and no waiting. Okay, React.js then loads and hydrate the page to make it more interactive. So the waiting time is getting cut, the SEO problem is getting solved, and this is how, and this is what server-side rendering exactly means. Now, why do we use SSR? So faster first load, better SEO, better performance on slow devices, small or low-end devices is like bad or worse internet connection or whatever you think. Great user experience for blog, dashboard, and e-commerce websites. And the good part is Next.js do all of these stuff by default. So Next.js by default does server-side rendering. Okay. So what does Next.js do automatically? Okay. So it pre-render the HTML on the server. So instead of directly running it in your browser, it pre-renders on the server itself. It sends the ready HTML to the browser and it then hydrates the app with React. So it's pretty simple. And there are two ways Next.js renders a page. The first one is SSG, the second one is SSR, static site generation and server side rendering. Now, what is static site generation? So HTML is generated once at a build time, not on every request. And why do we use it? We can use it for websites like blog, documentation, marketing pages, homepage, where we have sort of static content that is not changing over the period of time. Next is server-side rendering. So HTML is generated on every request, and this is something that we use for dashboard, user specific pages, or a page that contains of frequently changing data. Okay. Now, the last part is when to use SSR in Next.js. So you should use SSR when data changes frequently, user specific data needed like profile, dashboard, other things, live data needed like stock, tournament, analytics, etc. When SEO is important and data must be fresh. So these are the use cases of server-side rendering when you are dealing with Next.js. Okay, do not try to use SSR when page does not change so often, when you want super fast load time and you mostly have static HTML content. Okay, so these are the things. Now we have one simple example to understand. So if you see a React app, right? So user sees a blank screen, then JavaScript loads, then React builds the UI component in the browser. But when we go to next app, server sends the full HTML instantly, browser display the content, React hydrates it, and it becomes interactive, right? So this is what exactly server-side rendering means. So one line summary is instead of rendering all the UI on the user's browser, making a bad user experience, it renders on the server and then just load it, right? So this exactly is server-side rendering. It's quite an important topic, small topic, just be prepared with it. So yeah.